Hi, I'm Matt.
And I'm Jenny, and we're going to tell you a story.
Once upon a time, there was a farm, and on this farm was a donkey named Alice who had the power within her, and a convenient magical staff. One day, an evil dragon appeared in the sky and threatened the farm. Alice used the power within herself to destroy the evil dragon, and was celebrated as a hero to the farm. The end.
The story we just told is one that existing narrative planners can make. A narrative planner is a bit like a magical box that an author can use to automatically make stories out of their world. You take the magic box, put in what the world looks like, what characters can do in the world, and some goal for how the story should end, and the narrative planner spits out a story. Still, it's not always the best story. Research on narrative planning is all about how we can improve the stories narrative planners make. So, how can we improve the story our narrative planner just spat out? We think that one obvious step is to add belief.
Once upon a time, there was a farm, and on this farm was a donkey named Alice who had the power within her. However, Alice did not know she had the power. In fact, she believed a wise old owl had the power. One day, an evil dragon flew an evil castle to the farm and threatened to destroy it. Alice fled to where the wise old owl lived and begged her to destroy the evil dragon. But the wise old owl responded, "I have no power to do so, but I see the power within you. To save your farm is your destiny, not mine." Alice was astonished. She had the power within her the whole time. Alice rushed back to her farm and, knowing she had the power, used the farm's convenient magical staff to destroy the evil dragon and rescue her farm. The farm animals rejoiced and celebrated Alice as a hero. The end.
This story could also be generated by a narrative planner and has mostly the same ingredients. The difference is that this is a special belief narrative planner. It can also take in a fourth ingredient, the initial beliefs of all the characters. This belief reasoning narrative planner can spit out a story in which characters act according to their beliefs and even update their beliefs across the story. Unfortunately, we do not have this narrative planner.
See, available narrative planners don't reason about belief yet. Some can reason about intention, which is where characters act towards their own goals, which might differ from the author's goals, but no publicly accessible narrative planner reasons about belief. This is because it is hard.
But we think that it's worth it because even a basic system of belief for characters enables more interesting stories to be told even with off-the-shelf narrative planners.
Before we get into the details, it's worth discussing what we mean when we talk about belief in the context of narrative planners. A character's belief state can be thought of as what that character knows about the current state of the world. Importantly, this belief state can differ from the actual state of the world. A character may not know about certain facts in the world, or their beliefs may directly contradict what is actually true in the world. A character's beliefs may change over time, depending on the events of a story.
As part of our work, we've introduced a simple model of belief. It obeys a few basic rules. 1. Statements about belief can be treated as another fact in the world state. 2. Characters can have mistaken beliefs about the world that differ from the actual world state. 3. Characters only take action if they believe that the preconditions of that action are in fact met. And 4. Characters may attempt actions even if the preconditions aren't met, so long as they believe the preconditions are met. It should be noted that this is a highly simplified representation of our characters' belief. A more complete model is perhaps a rabbit hole that we can get into later.
So hang on. What happens when a character attempts an action and the preconditions aren't met? Then we say the action is failed. Just like any successful action can have effects and consequences, failure can also have consequences. These consequences may be very different from the normal effects of an action. The author of the domain gets to decide on what the effects of success are, as well as the consequences of failure. Just like any action, a failed action can be important in driving forward the narrative of a story. After all, who wants to read a story where nothing goes wrong, where every character succeeds at everything they set out to do? A character's beliefs may change both from their successes and, importantly, from their failures.
The greatest teacher failure is.
Since a character's beliefs are simply treated as another fact in the world state, we can update those beliefs in the effects of successful and failed actions. There are many possible models for how to automatically update character beliefs at each step of the story, each of which is its own rabbit hole to dive down. In an effort to allow for the most flexibility, we leave updating the beliefs to the author. It's important to note that characters' beliefs can change due to them failing in action. Stories where failure plays a key role can be very interesting.
Once upon a time there was a farm, and on this farm was a donkey named Alice who had the power within her. There was also a rooster named Bob on this farm, who did not have the power. However, he believed he had the power within him, and he wanted to use that power to make some easy bucks. Wielding the convenient staff, he attempted to invoke the spell of great riches. But lacking the power within himself, the spell rebounded and brought forth a calamity. A giant dragon in the sky soon appeared and threatened the entire village.
We have described how to create a belief domain, but now we need to find a way to turn this into a belief intention plan, or the skeleton of a story. Our approach is to compile this into a purely intentional domain. This is so that we can pass the compiled domain into our narrative planner of choice, called Glaive, which reasons about intention.
In a belief domain, an action looks a bit like this, where the character must believe the preconditions of an action in order to execute it. And depending on if those preconditions are actually satisfied or not, the action either has success effects or failure effects. This is not, however, what actions look like in a purely intentional domain.
Through our compilation, each action splits itself into two, one action for success and one action for failure. The preconditions of the first action are twofold. First, the character must believe that the preconditions of the original action are met. Second, those preconditions must actually be met in the world state. The effect of this compiled action is the same as the success effects of the original action. The second action generated represents the failed version of the action. As before, the first requirement is that the character believes the preconditions are met, but the second requirement is that at least one of those preconditions is not satisfied. The effects of this compiled action are the consequences of failing the original action. There is some nuance in how we transform the belief statements from the original domain into friendly statements for the intentional domain. You can read all about that process in great detail in our paper.
Say, for instance, Alice wanted to open a door which she believes is unlocked to get to the wise old owl. Luckily for Alice, her world's belief domain holds an action for opening doors. Our compilation takes this action and creates two new actions that a narrative planner can use to propel Alice forward in her journey through the door. If it happens that the door is locked, the planner will select the second action, causing Alice to learn the door is locked and seek ways to unlock it.
Before we go, Matt has one more story for us.
Once upon a time there was a farm, and on this farm was a donkey named Alice who had the power within her. There was also a rooster named Bob on this farm who did not have the power. He believed that he had the power. However, Alice believed that Bob believed that he didn't have the power. Still, Bob believed that Alice believed that Bob believed that he did have the power, and I sense this farm has a lot of rabbit holes underneath it.
It's about time we talked about some of these rabbit holes. Our model is a pretty simple one, but it opens up a lot of questions and avenues to explore. For example, what does it mean to believe a belief? To intend to believe something? To believe that someone intends something? There's actually an exponentially growing system of rabbit holes about beliefs of beliefs of beliefs. Our model only deals with the first level of this, belief of facts, but there is a whole world of interesting stories where characters reason about each other's beliefs and intents. It's an open question how characters should update their beliefs over a story. There's also a big avenue of work concerning how to integrate more complicated models of belief into a narrative planner's internal logic, rather than simply compiling belief as we have done here. All of these questions and more is what makes reasoning about belief so compelling in narrative planning research.
If you take anything away from this presentation, we hope you take this message: that even a simple model of belief can enable more interesting stories to be told. Thank you for watching.